Welcome to the Tibet Center, here at 151 West 30th Street on the 3rd floor. We'll begin with the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Hot Sutra. Thus have I heard once the Buddha, together with the big great monks and great Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas called profound illumination. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no tongue, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the Bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awakened to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the impossible mantra, the Yoniku mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as true, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed. Tadyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasagate Viswa. O Shariputra, this is how Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you were taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Generate bodhicitta. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay. So now let's do one mala of Om Mani Padme Hum, imagining that you are, as you develop this wish to remove the suffering of others, you can imagine that you are assuming the suffering of others and thereby extinguishing the flame of self-cherishing at your heart, and then providing all of your virtues to others. And that's the meaning of the mantra, and that's the purpose of reciting Om Mani Padme Hum. Okay, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme. Mani Padme Hum. Hello. So, last week we were discussing, we had just arrived at a point where His Holiness explains the difference between ethics and spiritual practice. Ethics being the effort to refrain from engaging in non-virtuous actions, and spiritual actions being actions that contribute to the happiness of others. It's a distinction I hadn't ever heard, so I'll go over this because I think it's important. So he ends on page 61, towards the top of the page, first paragraph, at the last sentence. In other words, altruism is an essential component of those actions which lead to genuine happiness. What we're discussing is the way by which we arrive at happiness. And we've established that happiness is not attained by getting the things we want. It's not attained by outside things, by satisfying our desires. And His Holiness is introducing the idea that happiness is something that we get as we help others. That happiness is really the, let's say, extraordinary byproduct of making effort to benefit others. Then he says, there is thus an important distinction to be made between what we might call ethical and spiritual acts. An ethical act is one where we've refrained from causing harm to others' experience or expectation of happiness. Spiritual acts we can describe in terms of those qualities mentioned earlier of love, compassion, patience, forgiveness, humility, tolerance, and so on, which presume some level of concern for others' well-being. We find that the spiritual actions we undertake, which are motivated not by narrow self-interest, but out of concern for others, actually benefit ourselves. And not only that, but they make our lives meaningful. That's where we ended last week. I don't know whether you have something to say about this.
Isn't ethics included, like, as a part of, spiritual action, though?
That's the question, yes. Engaging in ethics and developing that restraint from engaging in non-virtuous actions, yes, is definitely part of our spiritual practice. But you can see a distinction between those actions that are devoted to refraining from. So we study ethics initially as we are studying the way karma operates, and this is when the Lamrim is divided into those practices that are shared with a lesser scope being. It is there that karma is discussed, so that it's not even, I don't want to put it, it's way beyond my level of practice. However, it's not devoted towards the attainment of freedom from cyclic existence. It's not the aspiration or aim of a Hinayana practitioner, and it's definitely not the part of the sort of basic practice of the bodhisattva seeking Buddhahood. It is the practice of someone wishing for or seeking a better future life. It's definitely in the realm of spiritual practice. Definitely. But I'm just sort of situating it within spiritual practice. I can put it in the 3 volumes of Lamrim, it's in volume 1. I don't know that that's does that position it anywhere, but I thought that it might be good to discuss. So, ethics is presented as refraining from engaging in the 10 non-virtuous actions. What are the 10 non-virtuous actions?
Not killing, not stealing, not sexual misconduct. It's the 3 body. Not lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, gossiping. It's the 4 speech, and attachment. I don't remember that. And malice, ill will, and wrong view. It's the 3 mind.
Correct. So those are what are presented as the actions that we are working at restraining ourselves from engaging in. And that's what so they're all refraining from engaging in an action that will cause us harm. What I have said this, but I repeat it because I really think it's interesting. These are not considered, it's not that there's a commandment not to kill or not to steal or not to engage in sexual misconduct or not to lie or not to. It's that they possess, as a result of engaging in them, we will suffer. However, at some, I probably shouldn't say this, but at some sort of higher spiritual level, if the bodhisattva, through his or her extraordinary perception, recognizes that someone would be benefited by killing, stealing, engaging in sexual misconduct, whatever it is, then it would be wrong not to engage in those, so that the actions themselves don't have any kind of inherent evil quality. But in any case, our engaging in them at our level is to refrain from engaging in actions that are going to cause us to suffer. While what I think His Holiness is presenting as spiritual practices here are actions that let's say the overt aim is to help others. Spiritual acts we can describe in terms of those qualities mentioned earlier of love, compassion, patience, forgiveness, humility, tolerance, and so on, which presume some level of concern for others' well-being. So it's the concern for others' well-being. That's the line that he's presenting here. We find that the spiritual actions we undertake, which are motivated not by narrow self-interest, but out of concern for others, actually benefit ourselves. So having presented those actions that refrain from harming ourselves, these are actions that, by helping others, actually benefit us. And not only that, but they make our lives meaningful. I think that's exactly where we ended. At least this is my experience. Looking back over my life, I can say with full confidence that such things as the office of Dalai Lama, the political power it confers, even the comparative wealth it puts at my disposal, contribute not even a fraction to my feelings of happiness compared with the happiness I have felt on those occasions when I've been able to benefit others. Well, it's enormously touching and enormously inspiring, and I specifically say that it's inspiring because I think that we should be inspired by that. So I wrote, just in preparation, how does our present situation come about? We are the result of our past actions. We are presently infused with the predispositions to act and think in a certain way as a result of the habitual way we have been acting in the past. So that each one of us right here now is, as I say, infused with a predisposition to act in a certain way as a result of how we acted in the past. That's where we are right now. Now, what's really important about a recognition of that is that we have the power to bring about the future by how we now behave, given, first of all, an acceptance of the fact that what has brought us to where we are right now are our own actions of body, speech, and mind. But second of all, that our present body, speech, and mind actions are going to determine the future. That's a wonderful acknowledgement of self-power. I don't know. That's how I feel about it. How do you feel about it? Yes, you agree? We have one vote over here. Yes, that's it. No? Two. Okay, three. Okay. Yes, four.
Also the immediate future as well as future lives. So
Yes.
it has a sustaining power in that regard.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Well, sometimes I do feel like it's a little bit burdensome though. Kind of that whole idea, especially I think in my experience when I know I'm kind of transgressing some of the values and especially kind of the formal vows. So I don't know, I think because I'm probably not engaging with it in maybe the best way, but I find it kind of a little bit heavy sometimes. But
So when you transgress, the fact that you're able to mention it now means that you have recognized that you have transgressed, and the fact that you are expressing it in this sort of slightly self-judgmental way means that you regret having transgressed, and evidently you feel some sort of wish to work towards refraining from transgression in the future. Those are the elements that diffuse the power of the transgression. So you're doing very well. Truly. I mean, that's what we have to do, just like that. As we, we're all sort of, I think we have to think of ourselves as sort of beginners on this path, and it is the recognition of our transgressions and the regret that give the force to the determination to work on ourselves. But prior to that, the recognition that where we are right now is the result of our past actions of body, speech, and mind, and that this the changeability of the mind, which is something that our recognition of our emptiness of any kind of intrinsic what is it, status, is that right? Things not changing. So our static, no, you'd say our status is the present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say that.
The fact that we can change it should be very exciting. Yes?
How can I expedite the speed of change?
You're in a rush, Patrick. No. Patience. Step by step.
You're expecting something.
Sorry? Does anyone have any recommendations to Patrick on how to get there fast?
If you say you're accountable for our change, then is the speed of the change our accountability?
So don't trip. And I say that truly, we don't want to go faster than we can go. People hurt themselves by trying to go too fast. We should be true to. When His Holiness was asked this question, he burst into tears. And what those tears signified, I think we have to contemplate. I remember when I joined the monastery and began my studies formally, I was so excited. I was just so excited. And the abbot saw me and he said, "You're happy." I mean, this was all sign language because I didn't speak any Tibetan. And he said, and someone translated, "If you want to go far, you have to go at a steady, slow pace." And I think that's really important. When I went to Dharamsala the first time in 1979, and I was a photographer, and I had a big wooden camera in a big metal box, and I had it was sitting on the roof of the bus that brought me to Dharamsala from Amritsar. And as soon as we pulled into the little bus station of Dharamsala, one of the porters was standing outside, and he pointed up at that big silver box on the roof of the bus, and he sort of smilingly said, "You want me to get it for you?" So he went up and put it on his head and climbed down the ladder and sort of said, "Where are we going?" And I had a reservation in a hotel, so we walked to he led me to the hotel. I didn't know my way around, and he led me right to my room, and then the next morning when I was going to go out, I opened my door and he was sitting in the hallway, and he was waiting to carry my box. And for the whole time I was in Dharamsala, every morning he was there, and he was wonderful. And I remember walking, in those days there were, for those of you who've been to Dharamsala, from lower Dharamsala to MacLeod Ganj, you walked. There were no little taxis going up and down and none of that. And I remember I had a little camera around my neck, and he was carrying this thing in the tripod, and he would go step by step, and I would be in the back full of energy thinking, "Come on, let's go." And he would go, I felt particularly slowly, and I would scamper on ahead and then wait, but by the time we were halfway up, I had already learned to stay behind him and go slowly, and we were able to go all over the place at this very slow rate. And Tony, did we walk up to MacLeod
I
Ganj with,
walked down and up one day.
but with Rinpoche you never.
No, that was kind of just out of curiosity. That's the kind of rifles plaque or something was there and then what to call it. But it's a lot.
Yeah,
A
it's a
lot.
lot. It's a lot. But Trungpa Rinpoche used to,
It's 2 miles
Walk down.
I think, and 2 miles up.
and there were places he would stop at this tea stall and he would go like this, which meant two cups of tea. And he would drink his 2 cups of tea and then walk on to the next, and then he would have 2 cups of tea.
He was well shined.
And he would then walk all the way up to Chopra House where he was staying, and I would follow and have 2 cups of tea every stop. And we would arrive totally fresh, totally calm. When Rinpoche would say, tomorrow morning, be up here at whatever, 8 o'clock or whatever the time was, I would leave and go, rush up and arrive panting. It has taken me years to learn to go slowly. So this is a long answer to your question, Patrick.
That's more than a mile. In altitude, 7,000 something. For us sea level people. It's tough.
No shortcuts.
No shortcuts.
Uber wasn't invented yet.
Sorry?
No Ubers and no cell phones to call them.
There are no Ubers in Dharamsala yet. Okay. So this recognition that we are in control of the future, and that that where we are now is the result of our own past actions. I think that acknowledgement of our responsibility for where we are and our responsibility for where we are going to go, that's the degree of our feeling of responsibility for that is the degree of our spiritual engagement. I think that's we can look at ourselves anytime and check that. And one of the things that His Holiness states often is that in terms of bringing good and bringing change, improving the world, we have aspirations, we have a desire to contribute in some way to making the world a better place. And he says the way you do that is by the work you do on yourself. That's the greatest contribution that you can make. And an important step in that is engaging in the application of ethical behavior. And it's not a question of getting it all right from the beginning. It's a question of working at improving and working at regretting and determining to diminish our tendency to there are certain bad habits we may have where it's not that we can actually stop them. If Tony wanted to give up imitating,
I could.
I'm not surprised to do that.
but you can say, I'm not going to imitate for the next 15 minutes.
All right. It's gonna be tough.
Sorry?
But I'm determined. Right, in increments.
You-
Be realistic.
And then you can stretch them a little bit. You got to stretch them a little bit, Tony.
That's right. That would be true.
Rinpoche would talk about that with the cheetah vow too, right?
With everything, with all virtue. But don't stop altogether, Tony, because
You
it's
say
very
don't do it,
useful.
and then he would ask me to do it, so he had an act of putting you in no person's land.
And there's no better mirror for our bad habits than a good imitator. Mirror.
The best mirror is the teachings, because the imitators always get it right, and it's a caricature, it's not accurate.
It's pretty accurate. I find it. I've learned a lot about myself.
Can't be accurate. That's why they have to write checks in your name.
So,
Anyway.
and not only that, but they make our. At least this is my experience. Looking back over my life, we've done that. Down. Does this proposition stand up to analysis? Is conduct inspired by the wish to help others the most effective way to bring about genuine happiness? Consider the following. We humans are social beings. We come into the world as a result of others' actions. We survive here in dependence on others. Whether we like it or not, there is hardly a moment of our lives when we do not benefit from others' activities. For this reason, it is hardly surprising that most of our happiness arises in the context of our relationship with others. Nor is it so remarkable that our greatest joy should come from when we are motivated by concern for others. But that is not all. We find that not only do altruistic actions bring about happiness, but they also lessen our experience of suffering. So how would that be? How would our altruistic actions bring about happiness and lessen our experience of suffering?
I think this Holiness trip from, where was it, when Gaius, the hospital, was in deep pain, and then he saw poor people on the road, no person with no one to care for them, children running around, no clothing, his compassion rose. His pain dissipated, he said. I think in one of these books, it's true, you occupy your mind with compassion for others, wish to take their suffering. Yours is easily handleable, more easily handled. Now, I haven't had that experience myself, but it sounds legit, you know. On a smaller level, probably. At least you distracted yourself. Frank. No. Yeah.
So here I'm not suggesting that the individual whose actions are motivated by the wish to bring others happiness necessarily meets with less misfortune than the one who does not. Sickness, old age, and mishaps of one sort or another are the same for all of us. But the suffering which undermines our internal peace, anxiety, frustration, disappointment, are definitely less. So let's go back to sickness, old age, and mishaps of one sort or another. Sickness and old age. We were discussing this, Patrick. It was a very interesting conversation. Is it okay if I share it? And is it available online? Is this soon? Okay. This had to do with how our actions can contribute to our beauty. Yes? And
No, it's interesting because his mother was in the beauty business.
yes. So we were discussing, and one of the things that people consider not to be so beautiful is the aging process. But the acceptance of our impermanence is what we were talking about. The whole fact that, it is evident that we're going to, if we're fortunate enough to get old, we're going to get old, and we're going to get wrinkly, and we're going to get sick, and then we're going to die. And that's, the more we accept that, the more truly accepting of that we are, the calmer we are. The calmer we are, the happier we are. The happier we are, the less wrinkles we have, and the younger we look. And that is that. I do think that not just in terms of wrinkles, but in terms of contentment and happiness, accepting impermanence, accepting death is so important. It creates a whole solidity to our engagement with life. We're not delusional. We are dealing with reality, and we are practicing within a real context rather than in. And I think that related to your question, Patrick, we are presented when we study Dharma with the whole idea that if we really apply ourselves, we can attain full enlightenment within this lifetime. We should make effort in our practice, but I think that to believe that we, sorry to tell you this, to believe that we are ready, qualified to engage in the practices that Milarepa engaged in to attain full enlightenment in one lifetime, I think is setting oneself up to be very disappointed. We have to make effort. We have to take on the opportunities that we have to make our practice deeper. We have to engage in the commitments that maintain the direction of our practice. But we have to really, I think, apply a certain humility to realizing that we are going to be at this for a long time, and we should set ourselves up to have a good life in the future, to be able to continue, and to be able to do so life after life after life until we eventually attain full enlightenment. Yes?
What if it's like not intentional though, right? So I feel like you have a lot of students who enter the practice, like in terms of what you're saying, right? And like the more advanced methods. And I'm not saying like you have like the school, right? But like life is also a teacher. So my question is like, it's not really a question. I guess like as a preference, like I like to reflect on too, is like the more I get into this is like, what if like someone isn't seeking it as like, oh, I practice this. I classify myself like as a Buddhist or as a student. I like do this. Like, I don't think you necessarily need the label for those experiences to happen to you. I think the teachings are definitely guidance and like mentors, like all that is like, I'm not saying that, but I also think like you said, ethics don't necessarily have a practice. Like ethics is actually one thing that not even like all religions kind of share as well. So I guess for me, it's like, to answer your question, I think it can also be like natural cause. I don't think it has to be like intentional seeking. I think like the speed is up to also like life's control as well. And in this sphere, I think like also previous encounters and stuff like that in terms of like maybe what your soul is ready for or ready to receive. I like to think of it like that, like intentional versus unintentional is just interesting to explore.
But this, you mentioned the readiness of the soul, or let's say the stream of consciousness, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. That readiness of it is the result of the way we've behaved in the past. So we are responsible for the readiness of the soul.
Yeah, But I think, right, I think like the soul might not always be aware, oh, I should navigate this situation according to Dharma. It could also look like I should navigate this situation based on the values my parents raised me with.
Sure.
By chance, those values align. No, I'm saying that's just, I think it's fun to explore. Like, you don't have to be like an intentional seeker, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
True. This is one framework with its vocabulary and definitions, but the opportunities are infinite.
And your past actions have limits.
Yes.
Yeah, I have found Buddhism to be surprisingly intentional in terms of like teachings that I've heard, in terms of being aware of what you're doing, dedicating merit, kind of thinking through actions that haven't been made. So, which I've actually found very helpful to be more aware as I go.
Yes. I agree. But I also agree that all sorts of things can contribute to.
Experience.
Yeah.
We used to have the Tibet Center very intentionally invited masters from different faith traditions. We even had on 2 occasions events where we had masters from different traditions together, each presenting his or her path and goal. And it was, and we had a science conference as well. And the whole idea was that we would help people find their path.
At the Cathedral of St. John.
Yeah.
St.
Yes.
The popular.
Oh, no, I was gonna ask, what did any of the masters like find something that spoke to them in like their 30s, like, or did some of them find it like in their teens? Like, I'm just asking it. I'm just curious.
The
Was there, like, a
masters we
pattern?
invited?
Mhm. Was there a pattern in terms of when they all allow themselves to identify with a certain practice?
Well, the Sufi was his father was a Sufi master,
So that was
Pir Vilayat. The Hindu
Satchidananda.
Satchidananda, he must have started as a young
Student of
Shivananda
in Rishikesh.
at,
So he had a long lineage
yeah.
and came from a devout
As a boy, in
family.
other words.
What's her?
What age did he start?
Oh, he embarked on a spiritual path after he became a widower. He had been a householder with 2 children, and his wife apparently died, and he embarked on he studied Brahman Maharshi, and eventually came to Rishikesh, and took Shivananda as his guru.
What happened to the children?
I think his family raised them. I believe that the children came to visit in the property in Virginia that they ultimately settled in, that's still there.
The Buddhist was a disciple. Thich Nhat Hanh was not able to come. We invited him, and he sent one of the nuns from Plum Village, and she was not Vietnamese. She must have been something else before she became a Buddhist. And then what else?
The Westerner.
There was
rabbi.
the rabbi was the rabbi that we invited.
Female rabbi.
Yeah.
She was a riot. Yeah, I like it. Probably postgraduate or something. She had a university education and a master's degree, so probably.
but she was a student of that sort of charismatic
Yes,
Hasidic
Shaman,
Shachter.
Shack, yes.
Uh,
Well, this is pack, my mind is gone. That's-
so
this is way
most
back.
of them,
Most of them lineage somehow. Thank you. Just a question. It's been answered. Thank you, everyone.
And some Rinpoche discussed it as the incarnation. So they were boys or girls, and then they're
Yeah.
right in it at a young age. But that's rare, not in our society.
And then didn't we have, like, in class, we had visiting,
All the time.
yes.
I remember Richard Schroep was a Zen master, or Zen master Wu Huang in the Korean, the Chogyam Quantum School of Zen.
And- Nice.
Yes, we had that lovely imam.
I remember that.
From 9/11 from the
Yeah.
Mosque.
down by World Trade Center.
Poor imam. We Sister Joan Kirby had introduced us to him, and we had dinner together, and he was referring to the sort of oneness of all our beliefs and the oneness of, God. And then Sister Joan said, "Yeah, but you don't believe in God, right?" And when I said, "No, we don't," the imam was just, he didn't know what to say.
I tell people I don't believe in God with form. God with otherwise. So if you're a guy with a beard, it doesn't work.
So, in our concern for others, we worry less about ourselves. When we worry less about ourselves, the experience of our own suffering is less intense. What does this tell us? Firstly, because our very action has a universal dimension, a potential impact on others' happiness, ethics are necessary as a means to ensure that we do not harm others. Secondly, it tells us that genuine happiness consists in those spiritual qualities of love and compassion, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, humility, and so on. It is these which provide happiness both for ourselves and for others. So he's sort of summing up the way in which to engage in ethics, to refrain from harming, and then actually engaging in the spiritual practices to bring about the happiness of others, which lead to our own happiness. So I think that we can take these two things, and I think that they're good key words, ethics and spiritual, and apply them to our lives. Use them as ways of, through the day, checking ourselves and just thinking, how am I doing from the ethical point of view of refraining from negative actions, and how am I doing in the spiritual department in terms of working at developing, working at engaging in actions that actually benefit others. That those two become the basis of a real spiritual. So maybe the true answer to your question, Patrick, is by implementing ethics and spiritual practice.
I got it from what you said earlier, it's intention and effort, but you have to surrender the expectation or the speed or when's going to happen or when am I going to enlighten.
Now, when you say when is it going to happen, I think that the it that we have to work towards happening is moment by moment implementation of our effort. That's it.
Say it one more time. In the present moment.
The moment by moment implementation of our effort. We have to implement the effort of refraining from non-virtuous actions, from ethical behavior. We apply ethical behavior, and we apply spiritual behavior. That effort is sort of the basis.
For example, I was at the door, closing my umbrella, having a moment of pause and difficulty, and some guy brushed past me saying, "Excuse me," and opened the door and came into the lobby of the building, and it was like clearly I was coming into the building. And I was annoyed that he didn't consider that and wait for me, and I could have been snippy, and I didn't choose to be snippy with him, and we just rode up in the elevator together.
So he was a bodhisattva teaching you patience.
And I was grateful that I didn't let the wolf out,
Yes.
because
yes.
that wolf likes to go.
Michael, what do you have to say? Nothing. He's very far advanced on his path. So, well, I think that this seems like a good place to stop unless someone has something that they want to say. There was an earthquake in Colombia.
Yeah, this afternoon. This is,
Do you know where?
South Columbia.
Yeah.
It was pretty big though.
Yeah, it was a 7.4.
Oh, Columbia?
Yeah. It was not Bogota.
Columbia that frontier.
That's and it stretched.
Yeah.
I felt it was leaning on.
So, we've been asked to say prayers for Katya, Mark's cat, and Colombian earthquake victims as we recite the Sutra of the Recollection of the Three Noble Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One, thus the Buddha, Bhagavad, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous, Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavad. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the pleasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His adornment is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who love with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of Nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. He never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He is crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arrive in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavad. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, good at the end. Its meaning is excellent, its words are excellent, it is uncorrupted, it is completely perfected and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs me further. Seeing it fulfills its purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavad is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha, the great Yama, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joy and palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a complete object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lowers. This alone is the supreme, ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path for liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the community. I prostrate respectfully always to the free. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the foolishness are inconceivable. Okay, we'll read the 8 verses on training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn them as the lowest amongst low, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions I will learn to search in my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found the precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness, directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mother. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena like illusions, be relieved from the bondage of attachment. And now a prayer for the swift return of Ratchatrungla Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victories, gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes. Guru Lobsang Tubwang Dorje Chama. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast ways of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech, the victorious and speeches, spreading them to the end of the earth and by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you will withdrawn from the activities of the form and books for the third. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till existence end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teaching, and your fulfilling jewel. Return as the glory of Lobsang Tibet, manifest the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Kamayama, and Srimati Devi, the ocean of Dharma protectors. May you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh new life. Thank you. So we will have class in New Jersey at 502 North Ridgewood Road in South Orange on Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. Thank you. So we have cookies and oranges up here. You made a dash with it.
Right next to
You made a dash with it. Thank you. Enjoy.